intro.
What's up, you guys? I'm going to show you guys how to, well, first off, Happy New Year's. We're in 2014 now. This is the first video of 2014, and I'm going to show you guys in this video how to make your kicks much more clear and more wide, and how to really process it properly in some terms of mixing. So pretty much what you hear in most professional productions, especially in EDM, is that there's a lot of clarity in the track. So I always work with reference tracks to kind of compare my mix, not really the song, but like just the mix of well, it's just a reference, so I know how to process things. So this is my reference track, so you can hear how clear and how much clarity there is between the kicks and everything else. So I'll just play this real quick. So you can hear that I'm getting very close to, you know, making it sound like a professional track. So this is Make J and Henry Frog's Encore. So I really like how clear they got the kick to go to sound in the drop. And this is what mine sounds like. So, you know, I suggest you work with a reference track. But anyway, that's not the point of this. So the way to really make your kicks sound really clear is to separate the frequency ranges into different parts of the stereo field. So what I did here was, this is my main kick group here. So these are just I know you guys are gonna ask me what samples these are and where they come from. The answer to that is that they're not from anywhere. These are kicks I've made myself, and I'll be selling a big 500 kick sample pack, all tuned kicks, all genres specifically aimed at the electro big room genre. So these kicks I will release later on, but yeah, they're not from anywhere. They're just tuned to work with each other. And what I did with this is I grouped these two kicks, so a high layer and a low layer, together, put them in a group, and then I EQ'd them. I just kind of low passed everything around, let's see, 14K and such, and then I just made this whole signal right here, this whole group, mono. So I added a utility plugin and I brought the whiteness down all the way to 0, so it's completely mono. And then from there I just did additional things that don't really matter, that you don't have to have. They're not crucial, but they just make the kicks sound bigger. So I just added on a transient plugin. You can use any transient plugin, but I like to use this one. So I just added 30% of attack and 66% of sustain, so it kind of holds out the body and makes the attack sharper. And then I just added on a compressor right here, just with minimal compression at like around -2 dB at most. So I don't want to explain it here because I don't want to take up too much time, but look up serial compression on anywhere on YouTube, and you'll find good videos on what serial compression is and why you would do it. So look that up, because that's exactly what I do when it comes to compression on kicks. And then I just have this plugin by Waves called Max Bass. So pretty much what it does is it mixes an original dry signal of your bass with a max bass thing, and it's sort of really cool what it does. And I just have it on Pensato BM preset. And if you don't know who Pensato is a great audio engineer, great mixer, and he has a YouTube channel called Pensato's Place, and you should really check that guy out, because you will learn so much about mixing from that guy. And so just really check that out. And so pretty much these plugins I mentioned, these like this one, doesn't really matter if you have it or not, but what you really want to do is just make this whole track right here mono, and then just low pass the high frequencies slightly. So what you'll have in turn is, let me turn off my sends here, is you'll have this, and that's mono. So if I turn off utility, you'll hear that it's mono. So that might be a little hard to hear, but I assure you that the difference is that the center is being reinforced with the low end. So that's what's supposed to happen. So anything that isn't a kick or a bass or even synths. If you have frequencies beneath 140 or so, you want to make that mono. And if you don't want to make your synths like mono because they have frequencies beneath 140, then just high pass those frequencies and get rid of them, because you don't want to have that many low end frequencies when you have kicks that are this big. That's the thing that I like about this genre, is how clear the kicks are, because a lot of producers are making so much room in the frequency range for just the kicks, and I love that. I love big kicks. So okay, so now to add that clarity, so now it's a really clear, clean like signal. It's very mono, it sits nice, and it's not too muddy or anything like that. What you want to do then is you want to make a send, and what you want to do here is you want to have a auto filter to high pass the low frequencies, so no low frequencies are going to be in this, and this is going to be above 250 hertz, and you're just want to bring on another transient master. Attack and sustain are around 38%, and max bass, again, this is the multimedia setting, so this is just another preset. I like to use the presets on this, and what this does is you can do this with the EQ, by the way, and just notice the ranges here. So what's doing is it's enhancing the ranges that play well on small speakers, because small speakers can't replicate low end as well as big speakers. So the reason why your kicks won't sound as big on a cell phone versus like your car stereo is obviously because that's small speakers. So this kind of helps that kick to sound better on a small speaker. So that's why I do that. Again, you can just EQ that range and boost it up slightly to kind of help it. And then the utility plugins here again. So I just have the width to 172%, and I compensated with gain around 9 dB, because when you make something wider, it just becomes less loud because it's further out in the stereo field. So now if I mix these two together, it just sounds like a much wider kick than it really is, when in all honesty it's mostly mono. So that's how you get your kicks to sound much more clean. So I'm going to take off my send here. I'm going to take off this EQ, and I'm going to turn off utility. And this is what most producers would do. They would just sharpen the attacks, add some compression, maybe an extra plugin like max bass, and they would call that good. And that sounds good, but just adding on the utility and high passing and then adding that send makes it sound bigger and cleaner, in my opinion. It's less muddy, it's bigger, it's wider, and it's just a good technique. So then I have an extra send here just to reintroduce some harmonics. So you can use homicide or saturator or something like that. These are just harmonics that I'm introducing again. So by itself, it sounds really bad, and that's the point. It's supposed to sound crushed. It's supposed to sound crappy. So sausage fattener is perfect for that, because it's a saturator and it will really make something sound like dirt, like really dirty. And I don't really care if it sounds good or bad. The point is to really crunch it up to get those harmonics to be slightly higher than usual, because when you saturate or compress something or distort something, you lose low end inherently, because the waveforms are being compressed and distorted and all that stuff. So the harmonics go up slightly. So you can kind of think of it as detuning, but I wouldn't really say it's that. It's just extra harmonics, really. And so with the sends, my first send is kind of around the same volume as my original, where it's getting its signal. But this is a really important thing here. You want to make sure that these sends are pre. So what pre means is it's getting the signal before it goes through all these plugins here. So if I wanted to cut more of if I wanted to low pass this more to around 1K, then this would be playing only low end frequencies. So I'm going to make a duplicate because I don't want to mess up my settings here. I'm going to turn this off, and let's say I wanted to push this. What band is this? Okay, let's say I wanted this to only be low end. Just like that. That's all it's playing, and it's completely mono, so that's fine. And then I can introduce these. So it doesn't make as big of a difference as if it was post, where post would change it up really dramatically. So pre is just a way to get the original signal without the processing. And so let's see, what else do I want to mention here? So I showed you just, have our harmonics and mix that in. I advise that be like at least 10 dB lower than your original signal. And then, just have your high end frequencies in the kick to be really wide. And then obviously the low end stuff can be centered and mono. There's still high end frequencies here that I don't want to. I want to have some high end frequencies also in the middle, because I know that nothing else is going to be there but the kicks. So it's okay to have the higher end frequencies also there, but I don't want as much of it. So that's why I do this with the EQ. And also another tip with kicks is when you bring in a kick sample into Ableton, you want to check the fades, because by default Ableton adds a little fade at the beginning of a new sample that's a really short sample, and it does that to prevent pops and those kind of things. So let me just kind of give you an example of what that means for you. Okay, so let me take this kick. These are kicks from the sample pack I was talking about here that I'm making. I have maybe 60 or so done. I want to add at least 400 more. And they're getting better as I'm making them, so it's going to really be sick. I use those kicks all the time too, so I don't use Vengeance and Dead Mouse samples anymore. It's just my own kicks, so hopefully I'll talk more about it when it's closer to being done. Anyway, so this is what it does. You can see that fade there. That's just there at the beginning. That fade is going to kill my attack, so it's not good for me. So what you want to do is you want to pull this all the way to the left to get the full attack. So if I undo it, I'm going to let you listen to it on a loop, and then I'm going to redo it and undo it so you can see the difference between the default fade and then no fade that you would have to do. Imagine how frustrating that would be for people that don't know that Ableton does that to their kicks, and they're just not getting enough attack. So to get full attack on your kicks, make sure that they look like this, and then duplicate them from there. So that's all my tips for you guys. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. 2014 is going to be full of tutorials. I probably predict I'll do at least 200 tutorials this year, because I like to do tutorials a lot. So subscribe, check out my main channel and Ableton Live Techs. I'm probably going to upload this to both of those channels, because I do that sometimes, not with all my videos. So some of my videos are there and on Ableton Live Techs, and we have like 3 uploaders on that channel. So we have a lot of content for that channel. So if you're watching this on that channel, subscribe, because we just pump out so many videos. And then just follow me on my main channel, because that's kind of where I do things a little bit more sound design type stuff. So thanks for watching, you guys.